The mansion shimmered like a dream carved out of winter itself. Crystal chandeliers scattered warm golden light across marble floors, and a towering Christmas tree stood proudly in the center of the grand hall, its branches heavy with red and gold ornaments. Soft carols played in the background, blending with the gentle hum of laughter, clinking glasses, and polite conversations among the guests. Everything about the evening spoke of wealth, celebration, and perfection. Yet, at the far end of the long dining table, she sat quietly, almost invisible. Her name was Evelyn. She wore a deep red dress, elegant, tasteful, and modest compared to the extravagant gowns around her. The fabric hugged her frame gracefully, but no amount of beauty could hide the heaviness in her eyes. They glistened, not from the reflection of the lights, but from tears she refused to let fall openly. Her posture was straight, her chin lifted, as if dignity itself was the last thing she was determined not to lose. In front of her lay a thin stack of papers. Divorce papers. Her fingers trembled slightly as she held the pen. Each word on those pages felt heavier than gold, heavier than the expectations that had weighed on her since the day she married into this world. Across the room, her husband laughed with his friends, glass raised high, perfectly at ease. He hadn't looked at her once that evening. To him, this party was a victory, a celebration of freedom, of reputation preserved, of a woman he believed had nothing left. No one noticed Evelyn's tears. The guests were too busy admiring the decorations, gossiping softly, or enjoying the luxury surrounding them. To them, she was just another woman being quietly discarded at a convenient time. A whisper passed behind her, sympathy mixed with judgment, but it faded quickly, drowned by music and laughter. She lowered her gaze to the papers again. Memories flashed through her mind. Promises made under softer lights, smiles that once felt sincere, and sacrifices she had made without ever asking to be seen. Her heart ached, but beneath the pain was something else, something steady and unshaken. Resolve. A single tear slipped down her cheek as the pen touched the paper. She signed her name slowly, deliberately, as if each letter was a silent goodbye to the life everyone thought defined her. When she finished, she placed the pen down with care, folded the papers neatly, and took a deep breath. At that moment, Evelyn looked like the most broken woman in the room. What no one knew, what no one even imagined, was that she was also the most powerful. And this signature, signed in tears at a Christmas party full of strangers, was not the end of her story. It was the beginning. The moment Evelyn stood up, the air in the room shifted. The soft music continued to play, but it now felt distant, almost unreal, as if the mansion itself was holding its breath. She held the signed divorce papers in her hand, the crisp white sheets trembling just enough to reveal the storm she had fought to keep hidden. Her eyes were red, her lashes still damp, yet there was a calmness in her expression that no one expected to see. Whispers began immediately. They moved like shadows across the room, quick, sharp, and cruel. Some guests leaned closer to one another, their faces painted with thinly disguised curiosity. Others watched openly, their gazes heavy with judgment. To them, this was entertainment, a quiet scandal unfolding beneath twinkling Christmas lights. Her husband finally turned toward her. His smile faded into something colder, something impatient. He stepped forward, his voice low but cutting, just loud enough for nearby guests to hear. He spoke of moving on, of what's best for both of us, words polished to sound reasonable yet empty of compassion. Each sentence felt rehearsed, designed to protect his image rather than acknowledge her pain. Evelyn listened without interrupting. She stood there, shoulders relaxed, hands steady now. The woman who had been crying moments ago was still present, but she was no longer collapsing under her grief. Instead, something quiet and unyielding had taken its place. She met his eyes, not with anger, not with desperation, but with a stillness that unsettled him. Someone laughed softly behind her. Another guest shook their head in pity, whispering that she should have known her place. A woman in a glittering gown murmured that heartbreak always looks the same on women like her. Evelyn heard it all. Every word landed, but none of them broke her. She walked a few steps forward and placed the divorce papers on the table between them. The sound of paper touching polished wood was soft, yet it echoed louder than any toast that night. Conversations nearby faltered. A few guests fell silent, sensing that something important had just happened, even if they didn't understand what it was. For the first time, her husband looked uncertain. Evelyn's voice, when she finally spoke, was quiet but clear. She didn't beg, she didn't accuse, she simply acknowledged the end, thanked him for the lesson, and wished him the life he believed he deserved. Her words carried no bitterness, only finality. She turned away before he could respond. As she walked through the crowd, eyes followed her, some filled with mockery, others with surprise. They still saw her as the woman being left behind, the one who had lost everything on Christmas night. What they failed to see was the shift that had already taken place. Evelyn was no longer the one being judged. She was the one who had already let go. Cold night air brushed against Evelyn's face as she stepped outside the mansion. Snowflakes drifted slowly from the sky, catching the light like tiny stars before melting against her coat. For the first time that evening, she inhaled deeply, as if the weight she had carried for years had finally loosened its grip on her chest. The doors behind her closed softly, sealing away the laughter, the whispers, and the version of herself the world thought it knew. She paused at the top of the steps. The long driveway glowed under elegant lamps, and at its edge stood a line of sleek black luxury cars, engines quietly running. A tall man in a dark coat stepped forward and nodded respectfully. "The board is waiting for you, Ms. Carter," he said in a calm, professional tone, as though this were the most natural moment in the world. Evelyn gave a small nod in return. Inside the mansion, faces pressed closer to the windows. Guests who had dismissed her minutes earlier now watched in confusion as two more figures joined her, security, discreet but unmistakable. The image didn't match the story they had created in their minds. The woman they believed had been ruined by divorce was standing taller now, her movements measured, her presence undeniable. Her husband stepped toward the glass, disbelief written across his face. He remembered the woman who had once asked gently to be included in decisions, who had stepped back so he could shine. He had mistaken her silence for dependence, her kindness for weakness. Only now did he begin to understand the cost of his arrogance. Evelyn descended the steps slowly, snow crunching beneath her heels. The pain of the night had not vanished, but it no longer controlled her. It had transformed into clarity. Every sacrifice she had made, every moment she had chosen love over recognition, had been her choice, not a limitation. And now, she was choosing herself. As she reached the car, the driver opened the door without a word. Before getting in, she glanced once more at the mansion. The Christmas lights still sparkled, unchanged, as if nothing extraordinary had occurred. But she knew better. Tonight, an illusion had shattered. A quiet ending had revealed a powerful truth. Evelyn Carter was not a woman left with nothing. She was the founder and majority owner of an international investment group, a billionaire who had hidden her wealth to protect her marriage, her values, and her peace. The papers signed inside were not a loss, they were a release. The car door closed, sealing her in warmth and silence. As the vehicle pulled away, the mansion grew smaller in the distance, along with the judgment, the whispers, and the past. Evelyn looked ahead, her reflection calm in the darkened glass. The world would learn who she was soon enough. But tonight, she didn't need recognition. She already knew her worth.